The girl he likes rejects him for being fat. But years later, he will get his revenge on her. To continue his plan, Macabe starts reading romance mangas to understand better how to have charm. The next day in class, he sits next to Aki and spends the entire class staring at her and telling her that she only has eyes for him. However, it doesn't seem to be having the desired effect. The girl forgot her umbrella, and just that day, it starts raining. But there's nothing to worry about. Her Prince Charming arrives to the rescue. Macabe thinks everything he's doing is going perfectly and that the girl is falling for him. However, when he meets with Yoshino, she tells him that Aki said his behavior was pathetic, and she didn't say it just once but several times. Yoshino gives Macabe a great piece of advice: the more attention you show the girl you like, the more she will ignore you and get bored. He needs to ignore her. This always works. Take note, guys. Macabe isn't sure if what Yoshino said will work, but he has to try. So, when he arrives at school and is about to greet Aki, he walks past her without speaking, which surprises Aki. When he gets to the classroom, Macabe wants to sit next to her, but instead, he goes to the back with other guys. Macabe is afraid that what he's doing will throw away all the progress he's made. But he must continue. Even when he encounters Aki and now wants to talk to her, the girl pulls the same move and ignores him. Macabe tries to talk to her, but Yoshino gives him a look that says it all. For the rest of the day, Aki is in a very bad mood, and when the two finally meet, she says she has something to tell him. Macabe tries to escape, but he doesn't succeed. The girl asks what he is doing or what he expects to happen between them. Macabe thinks it's over, his plan is fail. But after the girl events, she asks why he ignored her all day. That's right, it worked. The protagonist realizes what he has achieved but doesn't let himself get too excited. Macabe thinks and tells Aki that he ignored her on purpose so she would seek him out. When he's about to tell her he likes her, she asks what he likes about her. The problem is that Macabe doesn't really know what he likes about her, so he does what my dad did when I was born, run away and never return. Yoshino tells Macabe he was a fool for not knowing what to say in that situation and doubts he will forgive him for it. The girl was right because Macabe writes Aki a letter to express his feelings, but she takes it and throws it in the trash. She tells him she hates him and leaves. Macabe doesn't know what just happened, and at that moment, Yoshino arrives and tells him to stay calm. She will fix everything. He just has to trust her. But even though she will help, Macabe knows this revenge is for him. He must do it, not someone else. What he doesn't know is that the real reason Aki is angry is because she has been seeing him with Yoshino. She doesn't suspect they are plotting against her. Rather, she thinks the two like each other, and she feels very jealous. When Yoshino arrives, Aki wants to ask if she and Macabe are a couple but doesn't. However, Yoshino knows her well and understands what Aki is thinking. She tells her that there is nothing between her and Macabe. He only has eyes for Aki. She also asks if Aki likes Macabe. Aki wants to say yes but claims all men are liars. When she fell in love in the past, everything went rough. She can't fall for someone else. Only then does she realize she was talking to no one because Yoshino had already left. Becky thinks she shouldn't fall for Macabe's charms. She behaves coldly towards others because deep down, she is very sensitive and fears being hurt by others. She prefers to be hated than to be hurt. But throughout all these days, she hasn't been able to get Macabe out of her mind. While she's lost in thought, she doesn't notice a car approaching. Just as a disaster is about to happen, Macabe arrives just in time, grabs her arm, and tells her that if anything happened to her, his world would fall apart. With these words worthy of a romance anime, Aki is ready to tell him how she feels. But a girl interrupts them to ask if they are okay. The strange thing is that the girl recognizes Macabe from somewhere and suddenly gives him a big hug with a bit of feminine affection. Macabe doesn't know who this girl is or if he knows her from somewhere, but before they can talk more, the girl's butler tells her she has to go. Before leaving, she tells Macabe they will meet again. Now, the problem is that Aki is super jealous. Macabe doesn't know what to do, so he thinks about bringing her food to calm her down. But before he can deliver it, he gets stopped and is told he can't pass on Aki's orders. However, after a while, he gets let through. When he's about to enter, Macabe rehearses what he wants to say to Aki but imagines that nothing goes right, so he simply leaves the food and goes. When he's not looking, the girl takes the food. In class, Macabe can't get the mysterious girl out of his mind because she is exactly his type. Then what happens in these types of animes? Exactly. The new girl arrives at the protagonist's school. Finally, we learn her name, Nico. Macabe is ready to talk to her, but when the time comes, the other girls don't let him because they all want to talk to the new girl. This goes on for almost the entire day until Macabe gets tired and musters the courage to join the conversation. When he does, the girls tell him he arrived just in time because Nico was telling them she enrolled in the school because of him. She tells them that on a cold Christmas, she was collecting donations for a foundation. But no one paid attention to her until Macabe came. He gave her his coat so she wouldn't be cold and donated money. At that moment, she saw him as an angel sent from heaven and had been looking for him ever since. In reality, that's a lie because 2 years ago, Macabe was still overweight. Knowing that what the girl is saying didn't happen, he grabs her arm and says they need to talk alone. The two run out of the classroom, but Macabe doesn't realize the girl can't run and she ends up falling, appearing to be ill. Or maybe not, because the blood was just tomato sauce. Macabe asks how she really met him, but the girl says it's a secret she'd like to keep for now and that she'll tell him later. She wants to know if he has a girlfriend because if not, she wants to be his. Macabe is tempted to say no, but he says he doesn't have a girlfriend. However, there is someone in his heart and he wants to try something with that person. Nico understands and asks him to take her to that girl to clear up the misunderstanding from before. Macabe takes her to the classroom, thinking that although Nico is cute, once she sees Aki, she'll realize there's no chance. But the opposite happens because when Nico sees Aki, she says the fight will be easy. She enters the classroom, introduces herself to Aki, and congratulates her for being the person Macabe likes. But no one notices that someone was cleaning the windows, and when they open, the wind reveals the major plot of the story. And as Macabe sees it in 4K, Aki gets angry. This time, our guy follows her because he wants to explain that it's not what she thinks. But a teacher sees them and since they were fighting during class hours, punishes them by making them clean the pool. Maki wants to use this time alone to talk things over, but Aki doesn't want to cooperate. She wants to annoy him all day, so she fills a bucket with water to throw at him. But since she doesn't have much strength, she slips and is about to fall into the pool. This time, Macabe doesn't rescue her. However, when she falls, he realizes she apparently can't swim, and without thinking, he jumps in to save her. But he soon realizes that although the girl is small, she can easily touch the bottom. Even though he saved her, she continues to complain about Nico. Macabe asks what he should do, saying that telling her he loves her isn't enough. What does he need to do to convince her she's the only one in his heart? Becky thinks for a moment and tells him that if he wants her to believe him, he should kiss her right then and there.